Hello everyone, Travis here, and welcome to this very special Roller Coaster Tycoon 2 episode for you all today. Basically, I know many of you have probably never seen this before, but a couple of friends of mine have been working on this collaboration park for a while, and they both are relatively new YouTubers that have been trying to live the YouTube dream for a couple of months now. But anyway, they have this Dreamland park, which is what you see on the screen in front of you, and they approached me to see if I would be interested in doing some sort of guest episode, and of course I was really flattered, for even being asked. So I said, sure, why not? I'll see what I can do. This was several weeks ago, and then of course my turn for the episode came about when I was on vacation and away from all of my usual computer equipment and whatnot. But luckily I was able to fit it in, as soon as I got home. So yeah. Anyway, this will probably be the only episode that I do in this series, unless they ask me to come back for something a little later on down the line. So it works out that this is a really kind of supersized episode. This is a lot longer than most of my Roller Coaster Tycoon 2 videos tend to be. As you can see, I am building a compact inverted coaster, which is happening on the screen in front of you. This was sort of kind of a joke. Well, not really a joke, but one of them, the people that I'm doing this park with, I guess, his name is Wonterra, and he said that, or he put out a like a survey to see, what kind of next project he can put out on his channel, and get some feedback from the community about what kind of rides they want to see. And a lot of people said they wanted to see one of these, and he was like, why? So when I discussed with him what I was planning to build, I didn't really know, and I was like, how about a compact inverted coaster? And he was like, yeah, do it, so then I can get some inspiration from it for the future. And I was like, alright, I was just kidding, but sure, I'll do it. And before I forget, sorry to kind of like bounce away from the discussion, but both of their channels are linked in the description below. It is Wonterra that I mentioned, and then also Theme Park MANIAC, which I have done some stuff with before on this channel. Still currently finishing up the videos for the challenge park that we did together. So it's them two that are working on this park, and they're doing a really, really good job. It's got a very European feel to it, which is kind of a treat for me, because I've yet to experience any sort of European park, even though I've been over there a few times. But I don't ever go over there for that purpose, but believe me, I will someday. But anyway, so yeah, about where this is placed in the park, I kind of misunderstood what they were saying. They said, oh, we need something to go in this weird space that's by the entrance. And so when I got the park file and I logged in, I was like, oh yeah, that is kind of a weird cramped space over there. I got that. I'll put it there. And it turns out this isn't what they were talking about. They were talking about the space on the other side of the entrance. So it ended up working out, because I get to do this coaster for them, and then I also put in a pretty nice, at least in my opinion, a pretty nice car ride in the area that they were expecting me to put this. So, two for the price of one, I guess. I know it may seem weird to have a roller coaster right up front like this, but I can think of a couple of parks that have roller coasters relatively close to the front. Cedar Point, of course, has Gatekeeper, and even though the entrance to that ride is a little bit down the midway, obviously it goes up and over the main gate, so it's right there. And then Six Flags Fiesta Texas has Goliath right there up front, which makes such a cool statement as you're walking in. And so I think, the guests walking in would see the the higher part of this, where the top of the lift is, and get really excited about coming into the park. And Goliath at Six Flags Fiesta Texas, literally, you have to go the opposite way of the rest of the park to even get to it, and it's right there in the front entryway, which I always thought was a little bit weird, but now that I'm using it to justify my decision to put this here, I think it actually works. But no, I do like the way that this coaster turns out, and I think it fits really nicely with the architecture that they already had in this area. And I kind of think that maybe this was this is a Vekoma SLC style track, so I kind of think maybe this was a little bit of maybe like one of the first coasters in the park, or something early on before they adjusted the entrance and decided to do a retheme and all that of the rest of the park. And so while it may seem a little out of place in relation to the park as a whole, I think there can be an argument made that it really corresponds with the history of the park, and I hope you will buy into that, because that's my story and I'm sticking to it. The layout of this coaster, this space, I'm not sure how it translates to you all on your end, but this space was very tight. There probably should not have been a coaster put here. But the thing that I like about the way that this layout turned out is it packs a lot into that space. You've got three inversions, 3 different inversions at that, and then several different types of curves and twists and things that create a very nice and compact but exciting layout. I think the pacing is really good. I thought, being that the lift hill is only like 50 feet in the air or so, I thought it might lose a lot of its momentum, but it doesn't. It maintains speed very nicely, even through that last kind of somewhat tall inversion. So it really, really worked out in that regard. I hope my audio quality isn't terrible. It is the middle of summer, and we were over 100 degrees here today. So my air conditioner has been running non-stop all day and is currently running as we speak, and sometimes that can create a significant amount of background noise. But anyway, as I mentioned, I just got back from kind of a long sort of back-to-back vacation sort of thing. I was in Vegas for a week, and then after that I was in California visiting my parents, and I got to do Six Flags Magic Mountain while I was there, and hang out a little bit with family and eat some good food. Didn't get to do a whole lot while I was there. I was kind of confined to my parents' house a little bit, but they really enjoyed having me home, and it was a good trip overall. So yeah. Of course, I will be vlogging the Vegas part and the Magic Mountain part for sure. And yeah, so stay tuned for those. I won't go into a whole lot of details because I will be doing that in the vlogs themselves, hopefully. And then I also have a couple of other videos to put out, so I don't want to become overly redundant. As I mentioned, this park is very nicely done so far. And if you go back to the beginning of this video, or you may have noticed, I did kind of an overview of all the different attractions that they have so far. They're being very detailed with the scenery, which is definitely kind of my style, as far as how I like parks to be laid out and set up now. Of course, their build style is a lot different than mine, and that's a good thing. Because I think they both have really established a unique style of their own. And that's one of the greatest things about this game, is that we all get access to the same pieces, but yet somehow we are able to interpret them in our own unique way and get inspiration from other people, but then turn around and create something new and fresh and original with it. So And then, of course, as I mentioned, there's a playlist with the entire series in the description below, so that you can go back and hopefully, if you're interested, watch some of that stuff being created. And definitely check out their channels and other stuff that they have going on there. Like I said, they're relatively new, so this is their main series, but I think you know, they both have other stuff in the works that will be hitting their channel soon. And of course, Theme Park Maniac has the series that he did with me for that challenge on Discord. Speaking of Discord, link to that is in the description as usual. I hope you will join us, get involved, participate in some of those awesome challenges, get to know the community a little bit. Everyone's invited, it's all inclusive, all levels. You don't even really have to play this game if you don't want to. Just have a love for it, or have a love for, you know, theme parks and roller coasters in general. You may have noticed in the thumbnail that the color of this coaster does change eventually. At first I thought it would be cool to have a bright color scheme on it, you know, make it stand out a lot, especially being in the front, and just to give people that sort of exciting impression. But I decided that a more subdued color scheme worked better for the sort of themelessness that this coaster has. You know, the theme being, I guess a European theme in general, if you will. Especially since it's not in any particular themed area of the park either. So I thought that it would make sense to be a little bit less gaudy, if you will. But yeah, I noticed that none of their rides have names. I'm not sure if they're accepting suggestions for names, but it seems to me that that would be the reason why they would leave them blank, or leave them unnamed rather. But if you let me know in the comments below a name suggestion that you have for this that fits in with the overall theme and area that it's situated in, I can definitely pass it on to them to change the name to that, and I'm sure they will happily oblige, because I did end up leaving this nameless as well. You may have noticed, and you may currently be noticing, I actually struggled quite a bit to get my theming, or at least the design of this building, to correlate with their buildings without directly copying the style, because that's never, you know, never cool, or at least never a good thing from a originality standpoint. Gosh, I can't speak for some reason. But I think that it turned out pretty good in the end. There was one point, probably about 3/4 of the way through, where I just was about to bulldoze it all and start over. I really struggled. I wanted it to have that sort of I don't know, like Bavarian kind of German-esque feel to it, like they have up here in the front, with that building situated next to it. But I also wanted it to have some very modern architectural elements to it, like these very sort of shallow but long roof lines, and you know, nicely detailed exteriors, and a unique shape as well. I didn't want it to be just a boxed shaped building. I wanted there to be different roof levels and different roof styles, and like I said, I do think it turns out pretty well in the end. Something, maybe a style that I will experiment more with in the future, because you know, it could definitely be improved in some ways, but at the end of the day, I think it ended up working out pretty well. And this building, you know, doubles as part of their kind of entry plaza, but also houses the station and different parts of the coaster, giving it that sort of indoor-outdoor kind of European-esque sort of feel, which is so important with fitting in the rest of the park, or fitting in with the rest of the park, rather. I can't speak today. I don't know what's up. Although I do seem to be breezing through this commentary pretty quickly, which is good. I hope my mic isn't cutting in and out. The playback on my end is is kind of glitchy sounding, but sometimes that's the editing software acting up and not the actual microphone or anything like that. And at this point, coming up on 2 years on YouTube, I'm kind of extra critical of those kind of things, because I know that I have a sort of a standard as far as that stuff goes. But yeah, this commentary seems to be going pretty fast, which is good, and it's obvious that I haven't recorded narration in a while, because I have a lot to talk about, and what ends up happening is when I'm working on, or when I put out a lot of videos at a time, or within a short amount of time, 2 or 3 weeks or whatever, I start to become really repetitive, which I don't like, or I just completely run out of things to talk about, because I remember, oh, I already talked about that in the last video, and my viewers are the same people every time, hopefully. So well, not hopefully, I would hope to get some new people on board, but for the most part, I have a select couple of hundred of you who really are dedicated to my content, and I'm eternally grateful for that. But yeah, of course, naturally now I am running out of things to talk about, but that's okay, because in about 2 or 3 minutes I will be moving on to the car ride, and we will be done with this invert, and then I will have some new stuff to talk about, because I will be able to talk about that ride. So I just kind of have to push through thinking or trying to come up with things to talk to you all about in the meantime. I know I could just be lazy and cut to music, and that may end up happening later on in the video, because I know some of you do like the musical part of it as well. But I know the vast majority of you prefer me to talk through it, which I'm completely fine with doing. And me personally, from a viewer standpoint, I prefer the commentary as well. It's interesting to get inside a person's head and see what they're thinking about when they're creating something, or see what they're reflecting on after the fact, watching themselves build whatever it is that they've built. One thing I will say about music, though, and I thought about it just now, but it's something that I have been meaning to bring up and just continuously forget about it. If you are a musician and you create your own music and stuff, and you want me to put that over a time lapse, I definitely have a lot of material to cover, and of course it would have to be copyright free and your creation and that kind of thing in order for me to be able to showcase it on here, because YouTube is getting extra strict about copyright music, and making sure that the audio is original, or you have proper permissions for it. But I'd be glad to showcase your work if you have anything, and of course you will get credit in the description, and maybe even a shout out in my narration part if I don't forget to do that. But for sure you'll get credit in the description, and as kind of a way to maybe promote your stuff and get your music out there. And I don't know. The reason why I bring that up is because I did have someone approach me about a year or so ago with some stuff, and it ended up not working out. But I always thought, there's got to be people out there that are looking for channels like mine that are hopefully up and coming, and can get their music into people's ears, not without necessarily looking for monetary compensation, but just to have their work featured, and I'm completely willing to do that, assuming that the music fits in, for the most part with what I'm doing. It doesn't have to be a certain genre or anything necessarily, but I will discuss any concerns I have about it with you if you decide to if you decide to reach out to me. And if you want to send me any of that kind of thing, my email is simfoxchannel@gmail.com, and I will put that on the screen, hopefully, if I remember, and definitely in the description below as well. Gosh, I'm going to have a really full description for this video. But that's okay, because I want to make sure that you all have access to the things that I'm mentioning in my narration, and also that all the parties involved in the creation of my videos get the credit that they deserve. As you can see, we have finally made it to the cars ride, and you know, not a lot to talk about here, but I will say that in addition to the cars, I also put in a little food court area as well, which helped me link the cars ride to this this area of the park over here, because one of the concerns they had with this particular spot was that they were having a hard time figuring out what to put here that would make sense with the other things that are over here, especially being kind of detached like this. And so what I've done is I've extended this sort of plaza down, mirrored it in front of the cars ride, and then I have another main travel path that connects back around so that this isn't just a dead end. But anyway, so the style of this cars ride, I was kind of wanting to go sort of vintage, but I didn't want to use vintage cars. I ended up using actual automobile kind of cars, but I wanted this to be sort of a lush green type of ride. They have a lot of different indoor attractions in this park, which is really beautiful and lovely, but to kind of contrast from that, I wanted to make sure that there were some outdoor stuff as well, outdoor attractions as well, and so that was kind of my thought process here. And it also has a little bit of a maybe Western mine sort of feel to it, but at the same time it's not exactly that either. But it falls in between kind of vintage Western, you know, that kind of area, if you will. But I, you know, as usual, I will say I do like the way that this turned out. The food court area over here is a little bit on the symmetrical side, but I think it still works, and it's lacking roof details and stuff, which I think they may add in later. But the actual cars ride itself, I'm very satisfied with. I think it really fits in with this area of the park, and even though the style isn't like anything else in the park, I think it still fits in with that sort of style, or I don't know, genre of park type, if you will, that this park is. And what I mean by that is, like, you know, Six Flags has a certain type of or style of park, and you know, Cedar Fair has a similar, but it, you know, it has its own sort of feel. And then of course Busch Gardens is you know, heavier scenery, and you know, more involved theming. And then there's Disney and Universal, which take that to a whole different level. But you can definitely tell when you're looking at a Disney or Universal park, and they're even different from each other as well. But that's what I mean, is that the cars ride fits in with I think the overall style of this park. But yeah, even though I just got back from vacation, I'm actually not done for the summer. I have one more big trip, and that is my New York trip. I've never been to New York before. I have a sister there, and my mother, well, my stepmom is from there, and I've known her my entire life. But I've never made it that far up in the Northeast, I guess, if you will. So I've been to the Carolinas before with the Army. I was in North Carolina, and then you know, I was in Virginia and Maryland and that area, and the DC area. Also with the Army, I worked there for a couple of months out of the Navy Yard in downtown DC. But New York is never a place that I've ended up getting to for some reason. And so when we were trying to figure out what we were going to do for our vacation this year, that honestly just sort of happened. We were like, what's a cool place to go? Oh, well, let's explore options. Oh, New York is an option. Let's go there. And it just kind of fell into place. We literally booked it like the same day we started discussing it, and on a very much on a whim. But I think it's going to be awesome. I think it's going to be a good trip. I'm going with a good friend of mine, Renee, who I did Vegas with last year. She's such a great, wonderful friend. I also have been to England with her before, so you know, we're world travelers together, and she's a great vacation buddy. So it'll be nice getting to experience a new place with her. But anyway, yeah, as I suspected would happen, I'm actually at the end of things to discuss at this point. So I'll just move into my closing spiel and then close this out with some music. Comment down below what your thoughts are on my involvement with this series, or you know, what I've done to add on to this park. Definitely go check out Theme Park Maniac and Wonterra's channel, and show them some love. And I'm sure that they are open to suggestions if you've noticed some things while watching this video that you think need improvement. Maybe not necessarily my stuff, although they have been told that they can edit both of the things that the attractions that I put in. As a matter of fact, they will be adding some foliage, because at the end of this ride here, the Cars ride, I was a little bit starting to burn out. My creativity and motivation was pretty low at that point, so I just kind of cluttered some trees in there to make it look somewhat finished. But they're gonna do some fine-tuning on that, which I'm glad. It'll make it look a lot better and a lot more cohesive with the rest of the park. But yeah, so let me know in the comments below your thoughts on all that, and definitely go comment on their videos as well if you have any suggestions for them. There's a lot of space in this park. This is a huge map, probably bigger than any series I've ever done. I think it might even be bigger than my Mega Park map. So they've got a lot still to do. So I think your suggestions will be taken for face value, and I'm sure they'll receive them gratefully. Yeah, so what's left? Definitely subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and subscribe to them if you like what you see. Give this video a thumbs up. You know, if you feel it's worthy of that, and a thumbs down, I guess, if you feel it's worthy of that, although that would make me exceptionally sad if you do. I die a little inside every dislike I get. No, I'm just kidding, I don't care. But but yeah, I think that pretty much wraps it all up. So with that said, you all have a great morning, afternoon, evening, night, etc., wherever you are in the world, and enjoy the last few minutes of the video.